Let's bring in Stephen Yates. He served as Deputy Assistant for National Security for former Vice President Dick Cheney. Also joining us, Gordon Chang. He's a columnist for Forbes.com, the author of the book Nuclear Showdown, North Korea Takes on the World, and CNN counterterrorism analyst Philip Mudd. Stephen, the software or malware, whatever you want to call it, that the NSA used to map North Korea's computer networks, how does that work?
Well, the NSA didn't share that with me, and I'm hoping they didn't share that with the New York Times either. But this has had to have been a very, very high priority for them. I mean, basically, we've been in intense negotiations and disputes over the intelligence with regard to North Korea's nuclear programs for well over a decade. And so it wouldn't surprise me at all if they had heavy monitoring, and I certainly hope the NSA was doing this and more in terms of getting to ground truth on what's going on in North Korea.
So I assume, Phil, this technology really helps the United States in terms of gathering intelligence on North Korea, right?
This is the bread and butter of intelligence, what we would call in the business plans and intentions. You look at a couple of programs that the U.S. is interested in. We talked about nuclear. Remember, there's a significant ballistic missile program in North Korea. There's three things you want to know about those. Number one, what's going on today? Number two, can I introduce software? Remember Iran years ago when we disrupted, I think it was the U.S. and Israel, the nuclear program. Can we introduce software to disrupt what's going on today? And number three, in the event of conflict, can we shut down these programs via the Internet? So I think this is critically important to U.S. intelligence.
But well, here's the question, though, Phil. If the U.S. had breached the North Korean system, why weren't they able to preempt or at least stem that Sony hack?
My guess is that North Koreans are heavily compartmented. When I joined the agency, one of the first things you learn as an intelligence officer is I may work counterterrorism. That doesn't mean I know anything about what's going on with CIA's China operations, Russia operations. So if NSA is in looking at defense systems, what's going on, for example, on the Internet in North Korea, on the South Korean border, what's going on with the ballistic missile program, what's going on with nukes, that doesn't necessarily mean to me they know what's going on with a potential Sony hack.
Gordon Chang, you think North Korea, Kim Jong-un, they are going to retaliate against the U.S. or others for what has just gone on?
Well, North Korea always retaliates for something like this. And so unless there's a real change of heart in the regime, we're going to see some sort of action on the part of the North Koreans. It could probably be cyber, but also, you know, they have used other means by going, for instance, attacks on American bases or maybe even South Korea. So there's going to be something. We just don't know when, but it will occur.
You know, I've been reading reports over the weekend, Stephen, let you weigh in on this, that Kim Jong-un, the young leader of North Korea, is thinking of accepting an invitation to go to Russia for his first visit out of North Korea since taking over for his father. What do you make of that?
Well, number one, I would take it as a sign of confidence on his part that everything is settled well enough in North Korea for him to be able to leave. Obviously, when you're running a dictatorship, you have to be awfully certain that you can afford to leave and come back. And so he seems to have, I think, an exceeding amount of confidence that nothing is coming his way from the United States or internally to be able to contemplate that kind of a trip.
Because his father, Gordon, as you know, used to go to China, Kim Jong-il, all the time. If he decides to go to Russia first as opposed to China, what does that say?
Well, there's a lot of scrambling of diplomatic relations on the Korean Peninsula right now, with both the North Koreans reaching out to Moscow and Moscow reaching out to North Korea. And at the same time, you have the Chinese, who have been North Korea's good friends. They are now trying to build bridges with South Korea as they have problems with Pyongyang. And so you have a lot of different relationships being formed right now, and it's before the dust settles. We don't really know what all of this is going to mean, but things will be different.
Certainly will be. All right, Gordon Chang, thanks very much. Stephen Yates, thanks to you and Phil Mudd, of course. Always appreciate having you here in the Situation Room. Just ahead, a suspected